Okay, so this is our next video in our continuation of our Python interview question. So this is question number 3. So the question is like the interview might ask like what is pickling and unpickling in Python, and how you are going to perform this operation in Python. So first we should know what is pickling and unpickling in Python. But before that, before we jump into the code to see what is pickling and unpickling, we will see some scenarios like from where these concepts come into the picture, right? So there are some scenarios. So like if I give you some situation, like you have to store some Python objects into some file, then how you are going to store them? As an example, so within the Python code, like if you create some file .py file, you can create list, you can create string, you can create tuples, you can create dictionary, you can create classes, you can create functions, anything. But if I said, can you store them into in a file, then how you are going to store them using the code? So you can write with open and you can write some operations, right? But you have to write like file dot write operation. But if I told you, no, don't have to write line by line, you have to store as a whole object, then how you are going to store? So that is the whole object, not a word by word, not a line by line. So for that we can use some kind of operations. Similarly, if I tell you, so this is like in form of a file, but if you want, so let's suppose there are two microservices, and the two microservices are interacting with each other, and the one microservice is expecting some Python objects from first microservices. Then how you are going to send like dictionary from first py file to the application, to the second application? Then how you are going to, basically you have to send the Python objects over the network. Then how you are going to send? Then we need to convert our Python objects, like whatever the Python object which we want to send, let's put the dictionary or whatever the thing, we can send over the network. So there are so many options. Either you can send it in the bytes form, either you can send it in the JSON form, either you can send in the XML forms. So JSON is the more standardized form which is being used day to day life, but it's not only the one form. So you can send in the JSON, binary object, bytes, XML objects. All right, so this is one of the situation. The third situation is, what if to store more complex object into some file? So this is like a normal object like Python string or dictionary, right? But if I told you, can you store the whole object like functions, classes into some file, then how you are going to store? All right. So for that, we have to do the pickling and unpickling. So what is pickling? So let's go to this diagram. So pickling is just a concept to serializing the data. But what is serializing? What is deserializing? So basically, let's suppose you have the Python objects, list, number, class, dictionary, and strings, or any other Python object or any other custom functions object. There could be so many. I just mentioned 4 or 5 here. All right. If you have to store these Python objects into a file, and into a file in a form of a this binary object, like binary means g in the form of a 0 and 1, then you have to use the pickle module. And pickle is the inbuilt module which comes in the Python. You don't need to install like, right, pip install pickle, you don't need to install like that. It is automatically come with it. When you, as soon as you install the Python, it will come. But how you are going to store? So we are doing import pickle, so there could be some operations provided by the pickle. There could be some operations with, there should become methods provided by the pickle, which through which by use of those methods we can store these Python objects into the file in the form of a binary object. So there is a dump method. So there are two methods, one is a dump and one is the dump s. The s is appended at that. There is a load and the load s. So there is just a very minute difference between both of those methods. So first is, let's suppose the first scenario is you have to store. I told you this is a Python dictionary. So write a Python code to store those Python object into a file, but the file should be binary object. So how you are going to do? So what we can do is, we can use the pickle module. We can dump it. So whenever you have to write your Python objects to some file, to the external entity, then you will use the dump. And now let's suppose if I give this file to some another microservices by sending over the network, right, or by reading from some shared like a shared drive, maybe like S3 object, and the second microservice this has to use this file, then like we know this file has 0101, but this file contains either dictionary, either string, either and the second like our Python microservices want to read the dictionary, but this is like 0104 form, so this is not a dictionary. Then what we can do is we can unpickle it or deserialize it. Right, so what we can do is we will load that files by using the pickle. So if we use the pickle module to load that file, it will automatically convert it into like our object, our Python objects. Let's for if in the file it is a dictionary, then we will get the output as a dictionary. If in this like this binary object it is a list, then we will get as a list. If this binary object has a a class object, then we will get a class object. So we have the another method, dump s and the load s. So dump as means, let's suppose I told you, you don't need to write to the some external file, but within the code itself, you have to just print the byte object. Then how you are going to do? Then you have to do dump s. Then I told you, okay, within the you store that byte object in some variable. Now using that byte object, you need to convert back into the dictionary or list or any Python object. Then you have to use the load s. So let's jump into our PyCharm and see via the code. So we can call it as a pickling or we can call it as a serialization. We can convert Python objects into byte stream. Byte stream is 0 and 1. So pickling using pickle. So there could be multiple modules available in the market. So first is the pickle module. Using the pickle module, we can like convert like what are the Python object? Python objects are like strings, numbers, list, dictionary, classes, function, or so many things. Then we need to convert into this byte stream, that is the 0 and 1. Then how we are going to do? So I told you we have the dump method and the dumps method. All right, so I define like a string as well, I define integer as well, I define list as well, I define my dictionary as well, I defined one class as well, right, and I created like object of that particular class. Then we have to like I told you to convert into the Python object, but I did not like said that you have to write into a file. So just convert into the just convert into the byte stream. Then we will use the dump s. So we will dump this Python object. So we will do pickle dot dump. So and on the top we imported just pickle module, so you don't need to install this pickle module. So pickle dot dumps whatever the Python object we have to convert, and we will get some output. So pickle dot dumps, so integer, then we will get some output. Then we will dump list, then we will get some output. Dictionary, we will get some output. See, this is very complex object. P is a complex object, means it can contain the string, it can contain the integer, it can contain so many things. Like this is a complex object. All right, this is a like a object of a class. So we are like so P is the object of the class. So we are dumping that as well. So if we dump P, so it means we are dumping name as well. We are dumping age as well. So everything we are dumping. All right. So we dumped it. So let's try to print this. What we are doing is we are printing this pickle string. What is this? What is this? What is this? And we will see the type of that. So let's try to run that. Just a second. So we will see that. So Python testing.py. So you could see I converted and I typed the pickle string. The pickle string start from the letter B, which means byte string. So it is a byte object and the class is bytes. So I have converted my Python objects, string, integer, list, dictionary, into my bytes, into the bytes using the pickle module and using the dump s method. Right, so output is the class bytes, class bytes, class bytes, class bytes. All right, but let's suppose if I have to do, okay, now I am giving you this pickled object, can you unpickle it? Can you convert back this into the Python objects? Yes, we can convert. So we have to load that pickle object. All right, so load either from the file or either from this. So that uh, converting back object is called the unpickling or deserialization, convert byte string into the Python object. So we will use the pickle.loads. So the pickle string, pickled integer, pickle list, and we will get the unpickled. So let's try to print it. Let's try to print it and let's try to see the type as well. Now you could see we here like here we pickled very complex object P, which is the pickled class object, which is the object of the class person. So our output is this. This is the pickled object. So if I unpickled it, I can access the name as well. I can access the age as well because it will treat as a P only. So P dot name, P dot age, I can access. So let's try. So I can comment this. Just a second. No, I can't comment this. 1 second. So let's try. So you could see I have first what I did is let me expand this. So what I did is first is I converted Python object into the byte stream. So this is the byte stream. Now using the load as method, I converted byte stream to the particular Python object. So this is the Python object, right? So this is my string, this is my integer, this is my list, this is my dictionary, this is my P object, which is the class object. And then from the class object, I am accessing the name, I am accessing the age as well. All right. So these are the we just see how we can convert into the byte object. But how we are going to write into the file? If I told you, you need to write into the file because we need to send that file over the network. So you can't just convert into that byte stream. We need to send over to the network. So what we can do is we have let me uncomment the code. So what we can do is how you normally write into a file. What you will do with open, you will use the open function. Then you will write the file name, any file name. So I can write dot pickle, and we know pickle object convert into a byte stream. So that's why we need to write B here, and W is for the write. We are writing a file, but in a form of a bytes, and we will use the dump method. I told you if you have to write into a file, then we have to use the dump method, pickle.dump, and which object I need to write. Let's suppose the P object. Let's suppose I am writing this P object. P means I want to dump this thing. I want to dump this thing into my file. Then how I am going to do? So P comma F, which is the file. So it will take two arguments. One is the object which we want to dump. The second is the file pointer. All right. So let's try it. Now it's done. Let's see whether file is created or not. File.pickle. So you could see file is created. If I try to open, we can't open because it's a byte object, byte file. All right. Now let's suppose if I send this file over the network, or if I place this file in some shared location, let's suppose AWS S3 bucket or any cloud bucket. Then second microservice want to read this file. Then how we are going to read this file? Because that is a Python object. Python know only this Python object dictionary. So first we have to read this file into the Python object. So what we can do, we will load that file. We will load that file. So convert back to the Python object. So we will load. So we open. Now we have to open in the read format, and we know it's a byte. All right, and we will do the load method. We will get some output. Then we will going to just print it. So let's try it. You could see we are able to print get that particular object because within that file we dump our class object, and we access the name variable as well. Correct. So this is the functionality of the pickle. But you might think like these kind of operation we are doing using the JSON module as well, right? So from the JSON we can we have the JSON module also provide the same kind of functionality, a dump as load as. Then why we have to use this pickle module? All right. So you are perfectly correct. JSON also provide, but there are some you can say limitations and some advantage of that as well. And for the pickle module as well, there are some limitation and there are some advantage as well. So let's see. If you said okay, I don't want to use the pickle module. I will use the JSON module because I am aware of the JSON module, right? Right. So yes, using the JSON module, you can convert list, number, dictionary string, but you can't convert the some complex objects. Let's suppose class. In this, I have dumped the class as well. I can read the class as well using the pickle module. But using the JSON module, you can't dump your classes. You can't dump your functions. If you try to do, you will get the type error because this is not a JSON serializable. All right, so you will get this error. We will see just like in a couple of minutes. And the output is not a byte object. Output is a JSON string, right? And that JSON string can be passed over the network. All right, so generally like in the headers we can see an application is application slash JSON, content type is JSON, so that JSON is sending over the network. All right. Bec- okay, so let's try the JSON module, and on the list, number, dictionary string, and the class, let's try. So here is the code. So let me uncomment the code. So using the JSON, convert Python object into the JSON string. So if you want to use the JSON module, you can use. JSON is also used for the serialization and the deserialization, but you can't convert into the byte stream. Using the JSON module, you can convert it the JSON string only, right? So uh, now you might have questioned the same thing we can do using JSON. Yeah, the answer is yes, but to the specific objects like string, dictionary, number, list, but not on the complex object like the classes. But in the pickle, we can dump the classes as well. All right, so this is like one of the like the difference. Now the thing is same. You can use the JSON.dumps. So we are putting s because we are not writing into the file. If we have to write into the file, we have to use the dump method, right? So let's try on the string, integer, list, and dictionary. So let's try. So let me try. So you could see I am I am converting. So where it is? One second. Where we are printing? Yeah, we are converting. This is my string, this is my integer, this is my list, this is my dictionary. All right, so this is my type dictionary, but when I convert it, it says everything is string, everything is string, class string, class string, class string, because JSON module convert Python object into the JSON string. So class type is string. So now it is no more dictionary, it is a JSON string. Now it is no more a like list, it is a JSON string. Now it is no more a integer, it is a JSON string. Now it is a JSON string as well, right? Now how you are going to write into a file? Let's suppose you want to write into a JSON file to send over the network. All right, so you can use the dump method. So similarly, there are, if you have to write into a file, you use dump and load, and to the file object, to the byte object, then dumps and load. Similarly, if to JSON string, dump as, load as. If in the file, then dump and the load. All right, so how you are going to write into a file? So file.json, you are trying to open the file, and in the write mode. So if it doesn't exist, it is going to create it. Then we are like dumping my dictionary, and similarly, once the file is getting written, we want to read that file. So to read that file, we will use the load. So let's try. So you could see I am able to read that file. So let's see whether the file is created or not. So you could see file.json has been created. So this is my JSON file. The JSON has been created, which means I dump my Python objects into a JSON file. Right? I serialize it, and then using the load operator, I deserialize it. Right? Okay, so that's done. Now, so like why can't we just use the JSON module? Why can't we use the pickle module? So in most of the cases, you will see we are using the JSON module. So there are, what are the advantages to use the JSON module? One advantage is, let's suppose you convert yeah, let's suppose there are two microservices. One is written in the Python, one is written into the Java, and both the microservices are connecting with each other. And the Java microservices want to read some Python objects. Then how you are going to send? Because Java don't know Python. right? But that microservice want to read. So what we can do is we will dump our we will dump our Python object. So let's put the dictionary we want to send to the Java application. So we will dump our Python object, all right, to the like in a JSON in a JSON file, right? And then we will send that file, or we can store that file into some bucket location, so that the other application going to read that file. Then use then that like in most of the programming language, JSON is common across all the programming language. So it means we are sending the JSON to that particular microservices which is written in the Java. So now that microservices know how they have to treat the JSON, so which is very easy for them. So they can do that. But let's suppose if I use the pickle module, then there will be a problem. Why it is a problem? Let's suppose I have two microservices. One is written in the Python, one is written to the Java, and I have to send the dictionary from Python application to the Java application, right? So what I will do is I will pickle it, right? I will pickle it. Then it write into some file, right? Now I created a file pickle dot dump like using the dump method. I created a like a file dot pickle. Now I put this file into some bucket, or maybe I directly send over this file to the network. Now pickle module is specific to the Python. If pickle module is specific to the Python, then how you are going to unpickle this object into the Java or C++ or C sharp object, right? So maybe there are like ways, but it will be like a complicated. It is not a straightforward, right? So maybe you have to use their third-party libraries to do that, all right? Or maybe you have to write your own custom functions to do that operation, all right? So so that is the like the disadvantage of the pickle, like because pickle is standard for the Python only. It is not for the like some other language. In the some other language, there could be some other module to do the same kind of functionality, right? But pickle is for the like Python. But JSON module is for all the programming languages. So that's why in day-to-day life we will mostly see the JSON. But keep remember, JSON will applicable onto the only these kind of objects like list, number, string, tuples, but not on the complex object classes. Let's suppose if you have the requirement for the complex object, then definitely you can go ahead with the pickle. All right, then because the pickle work on the complex objects as well, that is the classes, right? So uh, the thing will not going to stop here, right? So like there are some real life examples. So what are the real life example of pickling and unpickling? All right, so real life example, we generally see we are sending the data over the internet in a form of a JSON or XML. Let's suppose whenever you serve web pages, we will get some output in a form of a JSON. So it is sending from the network, then they are sending from the network, then we are coming in the form of a JSON, or maybe in the form of a XML as well. We can share the data between the application. We can like save our application state. Application state means like let's suppose I have defined one variable, and I know this variable is going to change further in my code. So before changing, I can save my state. Save my state means I save my variable into some pickle object. And once it get changed, and I can unpickle that so that I can get the original value. So that is the application state. All right. So if we have to work on the JSON, then we can use the JSON module. If we have work on the XML, then you can't use the JSON module. So there is an XML module itself. So let's try that. So this is the code. So don't worry about the code, because this video is not related to how to write this code. This video is for the like what is pickling and the unpickling. So which I'm telling you, we can pickle these things. So let's pause. My requirement is the serialization, the deserialization requirement only. I have the Python object, which is a dictionary. Now I see how I can convert into the uh, byte object. I also see how I can convert into the JSON object. I already see how I can dump into the file which is in a form of a byte. I also see how I can dump into a file which is in a form of a JSON. But if my requirement is I have to send my Python object over the network, but neither in a form of a JSON, neither in a form of byte, but in a form of a XML, then how I am going to achieve that operation? So if I have to send my Python object in a form of a XML, first I need to convert that Python object in a XML. So there should be some library. Yes, we have the library. We have the XML library. This is also inbuilt library, which is provided by the Python. We don't need to install this library. And we know how the Python structure, how the XML structure look like. So generally it is like a root, right? Then the root tag will be ended. All right. Then there could be some child tag. Then the child tag will be ended. All right. Then there could be another child tag, and that also get ended. And in between that, like we have some value, like a value one, value two. All right. So this is the XML structure, but this is my dictionary. How I am going to convert this structure into this XML so that I can send over the network. So for that we have the XML module. So you can find this code from my video as well, or even from you Google itself you can find that code. So code is not an important. So what we can do is we are using the XML. We have to create a tree. So this is a kind of a tree, like parent is a root, then we have the child, so this is a kind of tree. So first we are creating a root element. So we said, okay, root is a person, right? Root is a person. Then what we can do is we are iterating over all the elements. We are adding as a child, and we are appending the child into our root. That's it, right? And we can write into the XML. We can write the display the XML string as well. So let's try. Let me delete this. So clear. So if I do this, you could see it created my XML object, person, name, John. And if I go to that, there should be some file.xml. So see, my file has been created, which is in a form of a XML. But in my code, I provided dictionary. So I converted dictionary into the XML string, XML file or XML string. Right now, I can easily send this file over the network. All right. So generally, pickling and unpickling is like used in very microservices in day-to-day life, because nowadays there are two microservices. One microservice want to interact with other microservices, and they want to use some objects. So and also in day-to-day life, whenever we serve the pages, we get the output in a JSON. So over the network, we are getting the JSON, right? So that's it. That's the end of the video. So in this video we covered what is pickling and what is pickling, and one more question, like when to use what. So this is, I think we already covered when to use what. So let's suppose if there are complex object you want to pickle, you want to send over the network, then you can use the pickle, because the complex object can't be done by the JSON. We will get the type error. Okay, yeah, we forget to see that. Let's suppose, let me show that. So let's suppose using the JSON module, I can try dumping my P object. P is the object of this class. So using the JSON module, I can try dumping. It is going to give me the error. So let's try. So you could see it give me the error. It give me the type error. Object of type person is not JSON serializable. So this is not a JSON serializable. So like structure is also different. How it going to convert into the JSON? So if you see this, where is my class? Yeah. So this is not a JSON serializable. So how is going to convert into the JSON? So we have the pickle module for that facility. All right. So we also see. So let's suppose. Note this. Yeah, so this is going to give the error. Let me comment that. That so you can use the JSON in day-to-day life, mostly when you have to send dictionary string, tuple, and normal Python objects. But if there is a complex Python object, then you can go ahead with the pickle. And if you have to convert into the XML, let's suppose your requirement is to send the file in a form of a XML. Then you can use the XML like serialization and deserialization concept, or you can say the pickling and the unpickling. So both are the interchangeable terms. Sometimes people ask, okay, what is pickling and unpickling? Sometimes people ask, what is a serialization? What is the deserialization? So everything like same. Okay, so that's it. That's the end of the video, and thank you.